Welcome to part 2 of our discussion with Mr. Gregory Howell. We're drinking sake, we talking Japan, we're smoking weed. Let's make it pop.
Oh yeah, Doobes, Doobes. We roll up the doob with the ganja, the marijuana. Doobes. Get high.
Welcome, we're back again with Mr. Greg Howell for our second part of the interview. Welcome, sir.
Hey, welcome.
Tonight we're going to be talking about, last time you were here we were talking about the Pueblo Film Commission and your
The Pueblo Star
association,
Journal.
the
Yep.
Pueblo Star Journal.
Yep.
So go ahead, and if you haven't seen that episode, stop what you're doing, stop this one, go watch that one, because you ain't going to know what the fuck we talking about, stupid.
You ain't gonna understand this shit.
Come on now. Dalton's here, Josh is here, we're smoking while Greg is telling us everything we need to know about this shit, because we dumb. What are we smoking on tonight, Josh?
We're smoking on cherry slimeade from the Denko. $75 an ounce. Comes in at about 26%.
Yep, and that's all at the Volcano and joints we smoking,
yeah.
double hitting it. I'm high as a motherfucker already, and since this is the second episode, I'm already kind of buzzed too, so it's gonna be fun. We're gonna get some sake in us. Oh, I mean sake.
Sake.
Sake it to us, Greg. What are we drinking, man?
Well, you have selected, and he mentioned Japan being the theme, and that's kind of my second home. And I was fortunate to go to Japan as a child and lived in Japan for about 10 years. And just before I moved to Pueblo, about 12, 13 years ago.
You lived there 10 years?
Yeah, I lived in Japan
Wow,
for 10
man.
years altogether. Not all one continuous 10
Oh,
years.
like all together,
But
I
I,
gotcha.
did 3 years here, 4 years here, 2 years here. So, but went over in elementary school. I was speaking Japanese in kindergarten and first grade because we had 9 foreign languages in my elementary school in Southern California. So we were kind of lucky. And Japan was just one of those countries that I was passionate about. But, and I go back about 4 or 5 times a year, still to this day. So I go back every May, June, and I go back every October, November.
So is sake an actual like big drink in Japan?
Oh,
or
it's
is that-
huge. I mean, sake is, well, and first, sake is made from rice.
Yeah.
And when you make sake, it's the same way you make beer, just you ferment rice. So rice being literally, I mean, rice is a sacred product. In fact, I did my graduate thesis on the politics of rice. So rice is a huge deal in Japan.
Yeah.
And rice wine, which is what sake is actually kind of a gift to the gods too. So whenever you see a god that's really happy and smiling, that means that they've been enjoying sake. So usually
okay.
you
He's
give...
drunk.
Yeah, basically. And every year in the month of August, when people go back to honor their ancestors, they go back and they clean up their graves and everything, and they give them gifts. And oftentimes people will leave a little thing of sake to make sure that their ancestors are always happy and content. So whenever you see those happy, smiling, Buddhas, there's usually sake somewhere around. So,
Okay.
but it looks like you've chosen a Colorado-based sake.
You never know, the rice in
And
Colorado.
it's handcrafted, and it's called Lychee Nigori. And the lychee, of course, is a fruit, a tropical fruit, mostly from Southeast Asia. And it has like a brownish kind of hard skin that when you peel it off, it has a pearly white. Like you said, it
Like
looks
an
like an
eyeball.
eyeball.
Yeah.
It looks like an eyeball without the pupil. And it has a pit too.
The one I
and it's
had,
a
somebody
pearly,
drew
it's
a
kind of
pupil
a
on it.
sweet, pearlyish kind of, I don't even know how to describe the flavor, but it's kind of a...
It's weird. It's odd. It's got its own flavor.
yeah,
that's for
it's,
sure.
It's very popular.
It's not like anything.
right,
I wouldn't
it's
say.
like lychee.
Okay.
Yeah, it's only lychee. It's
Right.
not. It's not like a grape.
Like
it ain't
kale.
like a fucking
So
watermelon.
this sake is produced in Denver, It's a special group up there, and this one is a flavor infused sake. So similar to what you would do with vodka or gins, or
is that popular in Japan, or do they drink it just straight up?
So you have your purists, but there are some really popular with younger people. People are starting to do some things.
You had to shake it first, right?
Well, yeah, it
Shake
does
all
say.
the
I was
lychee into
shaking
it.
it for a while.
Okay, shake it like a Polaroid picture.
We don't want you to open it.
Oh, we're gonna need to get the vice grips. Good thing we're in
I
the
took
garage.
the tape off.
It's fighting you.
There we go.
Oh, there you go. Don't bang it on that table. That's
No,
just
I'm not going to
flimsy.
do. I don't bang anymore.
So yeah, we're gonna drink on it. He's gonna pour us some shots. We already talked about what we're smoking on tonight. Oh shit! So okay, let's just talk about Japan, man. So
Yeah.
you take people there every year?
Every year. So the way it evolved was I did my undergraduate and graduate work at college, East Asian Studies. It was all about Japan. And then my last position, I worked for the Japanese Foreign Ministry. So I worked with Prince Charles and Diana all the way down to elementary school kids. So I used to receive all of these delegations, and I would take them, to different places, parts of Japan. And then when I finished that job, I decided that I wanted to kind of keep my connections. And, I lived there for about 10 years, so it's kind of the only other place on the planet that I could call home. When you get off a plane, you kind of feel like you're home. And
Well, you're so
Japan-
much taller than them. They all look up to you.
Well, the air is better, shall we say.
Yeah? I
So-
thought it would. So I guess that would be China. That the air would be bad.
Well, I'm talking the air's better because I'm higher and taller than
We're on two different levels.
especially
there,
when
so-
you're on the subways and everyone is the same height. So it can be sometimes better air,
Yeah.
it can sometimes be worse air, depending upon how high you stand. But no, so for me, yeah, I just wanted to keep the connections. So what I did was in 1989, when I came back from Japan, I opened up a consulting company in San Francisco. And for about 17 years, I developed very, very kind of high-end, customized, niche programs for major art museums around the world, for alumni associations, for chefs, for athletes, you name it. So then I would take them to Japan. I would be the go-between. I would be the one that would
Okay,
develop
like the
the program.
liaison.
So a lot of sister city programs, where I'd have to deal with two cities, one in Japan, one in the United States, or from other countries. But and I did things with a lot of countries. But as a result of that, doing things in sport, doing things in architecture, doing things in art, design, business, manufacturing, all those different areas, I developed a lot of good relationships and got to meet a lot of different people. So when I would get a request to develop a program, I could kind of pick and choose. And I like to mix traditional with contemporary. I like to mix, art, architecture, and design with food, things of that sort. So
Okay.
I did that for about 20
Make it like a whole
years.
experience. for
Yeah,
somebody.
basically.
Right.
So I did that for about 20 years, and then I was with Charles Schwab in Beijing. He was on a program that I developed.
The actual
and
guy.
Mr. Schwab himself.
Okay.
He was on one of the programs. And I'll never forget it because it was 2008, and it was the night that the entire, the global economy tanked that night. And I
Right, right.
remember him coming out in the hotel lobby, and it looked like he hadn't slept at all. And we had a conversation because I was getting really tired and kind of burnt out because it's really hard work. And I was doing it like 9 months out of the year I was on the road. And that's brutal.
Yeah.
And I had a discussion with him about a good time to retire. Of course, you go to Chuck Schwab and talk about retirement. So he looked at me and he goes, Gregory, do you remember when we had the discussion about when you should leave the travel business? Well, that was yesterday. So
Pack your bags.
I finally winded it all down, and it was a doctor and his wife from Pueblo that I had met in Japan and in San Francisco that invited me to come to Pueblo 13 years ago.
Okay.
And so that's how the Japan connection kind of got me to Pueblo.
You landed here
I
and you said,
landed
hey,
here.
this is hella cinematic.
I didn't know what to imagine. All I knew is the government printing office, because as a kid on Saturday mornings, I used to watch all the cartoons and all the shows, and then these magical commercials would come on from the Consumer Index report, and you could order any of these catalogs for free. So if you needed to fix your appliance, or if you needed to plant a tree in your garden, whatever you needed, you would just have to write the name of the brochure and 81009. And it would magically get to Pueblo. And then you would get this packet back. This was before the internet. Of course, it doesn't do that anymore. But so that was my first impression. I just knew Pueblo as being this magical place where you wrote the title of a brochure and 81009, and you'd get things back in the mail. And the commercials are hilarious. You can watch them on YouTube. They are hilarious. And it says Pueblo, Colorado. Yeah. But no, that's how I got here. So I still, I like to go over. I develop programs. I do art museums and art groups. I work with one operator in the world now that has commissioned me out to develop programs for them.
So what can somebody expect? Like, let's say me and my girlfriend wanted to hit you up to go for a trip to Japan. What can we expect?
Well, I would approach it in different ways. So if people want me to physically be there, like I just had a group of Puebloans during the month of June. No, not June, October. June was another person from the West Coast. October, I took a group of 6 from Pueblo. And we went over for 10 days. And I did it really, really cheap for them. I mean, it was amazingly cheap, including all hotels, all food, all admissions. I mean, hotels, everything, rail passes. We did it for $1,900 for 10 days.
Damn.
Wow.
And airfare was only $600 round trip. So we did the whole thing for under $3,000 for basically for, I mean, and we didn't skimp.
And I bet if you went to like a travel agency, that would be.
Well, that's what I owned in San Francisco for 20 years, was a travel agent. So I was able to, I had that to help me build these programs that I did. So, but no, people come to me and they say, Gregory, we're going over. I've got to go to a meeting. I've got to go to a conference. But we have 3 or 4 days. So people will ask me to develop something just for those 3 or 4 days. If I happen
you
to
could
be
tailor
there,
it to what they like.
Exactly.
I got
so
you.
if I'm there in Japan, if people know I'm there in May, June, October, November, a lot of people will travel there. And if they ask me early enough, then they can book me
link up
to
with
be
you.
their personal guide, which I do. And it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, sounds fun. Sounds
But
really
then
cool.
other people will want me. I do a lot of families. So a lot of families that like to travel, together. And I'll do that. And oftentimes, but I have a whole team of people on the ground in Japan in different cities. So if I'm not there physically, or if I'm not doing it, I will call people that I know that I've worked with for 30 years that will be able to do what
that
I
are
would
good
do.
too. Yeah, I gotcha.
And then they don't have to pay all the extra expenses. They just pay the fee for the day. Because my fees are a little bit expensive. If you need me, I have to go over there.
Yeah, you gotta get your time, and I'm sure you're doing a lot of interpreting too.
Well, yeah, I do, and that's the fun of it. But it's also really exhausting.
Yeah,
you don't
I'm sure
realize,
it could be.
when
By
you
the
do
end of
that
the
all
day, you're
long.
like, geez. I haven't
So
stopped
did you
talking.
taste your
I have
sake
not.
We
yet?
haven't done it yet. Give me 1 minute. I
Okay.
got one more
No, I was
question.
just
I got
curious.
one more question for
Yeah.
you, and that is. Oh, sorry. That is a big old burp. No, the question is like, if we did go over there, what's the one thing that they don't like Americans to do? What's the faux pas that Americans do right away that they're always like, just don't do that?
Well, I would say it's not just necessarily Americans, but foreigners. Is when we walk and eat or drink, which is
Oh, you're just supposed to sit down at a table.
you're supposed to sit down or take it home and close the door behind you, but never eat. I mean, in some places, in really traditional areas, if you buy, like some souvenirs you buy are like little cakes and little treats, they will literally tell you, when you buy this, you can't eat it while you walk around here.
Wow.
That's just a really quirky, it's a custom that Japanese just aren't comfortable with.
Yeah,
I mean,
that
but
makes sense.
you will see now, though, because Starbucks is almost on every single corner in Japan.
Oh, they've
And
worked their
so
way.
now you'll see people walking around with a Starbucks cup. Now, whether they're drinking or not, they probably do it
So
very...
that applies to drinking as well.
Oh yeah, you don't drink
Oh,
from it while you're
shit.
walking or eat while you're walking. No, it's changed a little bit with younger generations, but the Starbucks thing is really interesting because Starbucks is just as popular here as it is in Europe, everywhere else.
Yeah, I mean, a good
So-
bean's a good bean, man.
And in Japanese, you just say "staba," "staba,"
Staba.
"staba."
Okay.
Yeah. So
Is there anything else you think Americans should know about Japan? I mean,
well, now's a great time to go because
Yeah.
the exchange rate is the best it's been in like 20, 30 years. So everything is like 40% off. It's amazing how, I mean, it's still relatively expensive as a country, but you can now stay. I mean, and I put everyone in like 4-star accommodations. That's what we did that trip for. But I could have made that under $1,000 if we would have stayed in less expensive places.
Right.
So,
But yeah,
a
you
rail
want to
pass for
be a little
week-
pampered.
But a
when you're
rail
on
pass
vacation.
for a week, unlimited. You can ride the bullet train for a week is only like $300.
So
which is
Josh
really
likes
cheap.
Godzilla. What would he? What
Yeah.
would he do when he's up in there?
What? What?
He likes Godzilla.
Godzilla? Gojira.
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 Is there anything like?
So what
Cool
you would
that
want to
the
do
people
is
that
you
live
would
very
want
fast
to
as us can do?
well, there's the otaku culture. So these are people who are really fascinated with animation. And I'm talking about old school and new school animation. But then you have all the fetish bars. So you've got all of the characters in all of these different anime and all these
It
different...
can get
They
pretty
actually
weird,
dress
huh?
up and they actually go to all these bars and they actually hang out there. So there are neighborhoods like Akihabara and Nakano Meguro where you can go, but you can also buy the characters, the animation, the old celluloid, you know, the screens that they used to do.
It's like a Disneyland for anime.
Yeah, it's yeah. I mean, a lot of it was before. Well, Disney and pretty much some of the old school, you know, back in the 1920s and 1930s, they were all doing them single cell with those.
Yeah.
Plastics.
That's
Oh,
why
it's
they needed so
amazing.
many people to.
You can sell those. Yeah, they sell those. You can actually buy them. Because I remember Kimba the White Lion,
Yeah.
Speed Racer.
Influenced Lion King.
Oh my God, all of that. All of that. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so
So-
let's try this sake.
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 I like to say it in
And some
proper,
people
just so you
say,
correct me.
should you warm it up or should you cool?
Yeah, that was.
So this is something that's really interesting. Sadly, Western cultures always seem to think that you need to heat it up.
Because the
and
movies
warm
always
it up.
they're
They
drinking
always
it
are hot. Actually, it's the opposite. Now there are purists. There are certain sakes that are just fine, but depending on and maybe just to give you a little bit, when you make sake, what they do is they take a single grain of rice and they start polishing it. So they start removing the outer part of a rice grain. So the more of that you remove and you only have the inside,
Okay,
those
like
are
the
your
protective
highest,
shell type.
exactly. Well, these are the
Whoa.
highest level sakes, like daiginjos and things of that sort, because that is the purest, the sweetest, the most smooth flavor is using it. But also you need to use more of that because you've already shaved a bunch of the outside.
Yeah.
So, but your cheaper sakes, you know, which are the ones that you would just buy. You can buy them in 7-Elevens and in drugstores now. I mean, everywhere.
Right.
But no. So drinking it, because when you heat it up, you destroy a lot of that really fine, delicate flavor nuance. It's really important that
guys
you do
watched
drink
all
it
their
chilled.
movies and you've been
Yeah.
ruining your sake this whole
But-
time. That's
but
good
this looks-
information, man. I
yeah.
don't think a lot of people know that.
No, I mean, and then it really depends on the type of sake that you buy. So, and some people buy sake just to cook with. Other people buy sake to drink with. So it's the same thing as
Right.
wine. We buy wines to cook with.
It's
and
just
we
a
buy
wine at the end of the day.
It's a rice wine.
Right.
All right, well.
Let's give
So
it a
try
go.
it.
This one's flavored like goddamn lychee.
Lychee.
What did you think of the smell earlier, Dalton? I saw you were smelling it.
I don't know what to think. Like I had a weird
It's
like
unique
peach
for
smell,
sure.
but I'm like, that's not peach. It smells
don't like
like peach,
the
but that's
lychee.
not peach.
The lychee makes it really
You
kind
can
of
taste
tart.
it, huh? Right away.
I've never liked that goddamn fruit.
This does taste
Gross.
like this is like a cardboard lychee.
Cardboard or no lychee like
It's not bad at all.
extract.
It's not. No, it's not bad. It has kind of a.
It's real smooth.
There's a smooth. Well, that's the sake. Part.
Yeah,
Sake is
sake.
very
I
smooth.
was like, that's very. I've never had.
So is a regular sake sweet or no?
They have it's the same as wine. You can
get a dark red one?
No. You get no. You get a dry one, or you get a sweet one.
Oh, okay.
That way. Not in terms. No, it's all rice.
It's all white.
It's all white. Yeah, pretty much. But like I said, the sparkling. This took Japan by storm, and it is really good. It's like like a the Italian white. Really inexpensive champagne. Why can't I think of the name right now?
Stella Rosa.
No. It's
Cristal?
Huh?
Cristal?
No.
Oh, Don Perignon.
No. Prosecco.
Well,
So like Prosecco.
yeah.
So Prosecco is an inexpensive, sparkling, white
yeah.
wine. And so they've done the same thing with sakes. But then they'd put a little bit of plum in them sometimes. They'll put a little bit in the sweeten it or do things. So that's right. But it has taken not only Japan, but the world by
this
storm.
company has a bunch of other ones. They weren't
Right.
all just light. They have a regular one. They had other flavors, but I thought that one might be more of a Asian flavor. So they
No,
went that
this-
route. But
This is
bought it,
more
even
of
though
a
you
this
didn't
is
like
more of
lychee?
a
Well, I got
a
it for
Western
everybody.
designer sake. If you were
Okay.
a purist, you're gonna just want rice wine, and then it would be better if it's a sweet or a dry.
so if I
and
wanted
it's
to try it for the first time, I had a little bit of money. I'm not cheap.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
what would I buy? What's a good one to buy?
In the States.
In the
there's a well no they import a lot of them are imported from Japan.
Right.
So there's a few. There's one in Oregon. I think it's Momo sake. It's
Okay.
a famous American who lived in Japan for many, many years, and he opened up a sake factory in the outside of the Portland area. There's a few pockets in the United States where they're doing really nice sakes, but they import a wide variety. So you could get Hatsumeikan, which is a very famous, huge, sake distillery. You
Yeah.
could order that here. You could get a lot of them, and then you've got a lot of other different types of because you get the other spirits, which are inexpensive too, and those like Chuhai and things of that sort. Koreans have the same ones. They're all clear. They're like vodkas, really inexpensive. Kind
Okay,
of like a
they just
vodka. They're
infuse it with
grain.
it.
Yeah, they're all grain based. But this is rice. Yeah.
What would you give it? Low, high?
No, I think it's unique. I mean, I've never had an infused sake like this. The sake part is very smooth.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
really smooth.
I think it's just your preferences of the lychee. The lychee.
Lychee. Yeah, I
Lychee.
think it's leeching my fucking stomach. I don't like it. But that's my review. Is
What did you
Eh.
think, Dalton?
I mean, it wasn't bad. It didn't burn at all like I
No,
was
no, it's very
expecting.
smooth. Very smooth.
But what I did like was it had this little tingle that kind of stayed there and
Yeah.
kind of slowly made its way down. I was
Right.
like, okay, that's kind of nice.
Well,
That's
and on a
different.
cold, and you can imagine if you warmed it up, of course, that's going to immediately have a sensation.
Yeah.
But when you drink this, usually on a cold night, you warm up pretty quickly when you drink sake.
Yeah, it was
do we
nice.
have time to do a would you rather, or do we need to wrap it up?
You can do it.
Okay, Dalton, would you rather donate $1,000 or 500 hours over the next year to a charity?
500 hours. is a
So
long
work
time.
or don't work, pretty much.
Either give all your loot away or go and work for free.
You said 500 hours?
500 hours,
That's
yeah.
a lot of hours.
A lot of hours. You can make
Heck yeah.
1,000 in way less than that.
It depends.
But you
on
gotta give it up.
Depends on a nonprofit or
You
the
can do whatever one
volunteer-
you want to choose.
Volunteer work.
You could choose whatever one you want.
I'll probably choose the whole donate. Probably donate.
You could work at the zoo for 500 days or hours.
Yeah, that's 500 days or 500 hours that I could
Picking up
possibly
shit.
be eating and picking up shit. Fuck that.
Or volunteer for an organization that would benefit where you want to take your career.
That is true.
So then there's
Son
value
of a
there.
bitch.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. I agree with that. That's true.
What would
the
you pick,
perfect-
Greg?
That got me.
Well, it's too easy just to pay the $1,000. I would try to
Pretty
find.
easy.
Well, it would have to be something. If I had a choice,
Yeah,
of where
yeah,
I
where
wanted
you're
to
gonna
dedicate
take
my
your
time. If I could work with, high school kids, or if I could work with college age kids or something like that,
You'd
I would
happily
probably
do it.
enjoy it. It's exhausting, but I would probably get more out
That
of
is
that.
a lot of hours, man. But
No,
yeah,
500 is a lot. I mean, maybe 50 hours would be closer.
100.
the first one was 100, and I said, nah, I'm bumping it. The numbers, we need to
500
bump
is
those
like if you
numbers.
did some serious crime or
Yeah.
something.
We really don't want to throw your ass in jail for some reason. So.
$1,000 is a lot of money for some people.
I mean, it is a lot of money, but at the same time, it's a lot of hours.
That's a
So
whole
1
lot of
hour,
hours.
if you just get $20 an hour, it just takes 5 hours to make $100.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You
Yeah.
can make it back real quick.
I'm saying 100 hours is only like 2 weeks, and we could easily
Because
do
50
that.
hours is about what $1,000 is.
You gotta do-
What would you pick? The money?
I'd pick the money.
Going with the money. All right, guys, that's our show. Thanks, Greg.
Thank you.
It's always a pleasure having you on the show, man. You're so full of knowledge and you're so worldly.
Well, thank you for
we
the
appreciate
opportunity
you
to
being
share.
here,
It's
man.
fun. Yeah.
Thanks, guys. I guess we'll see you in 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
We'll be here. We'll be smoking weed and reviewing liquor. So we'll see you in 2 weeks. Come back and like, subscribe, and share.
Peace.
Peace. Let's make it pop. Go ahead, Don, make it pop.